Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. Today I wanted to do a quick video on past lives and healing or clearing past lives, understanding that there is no need to heal or clear past lives. I received this information from a session that I did with a client today with the Palladians, and they showed her, she had the question of, do I still need to clear and or heal my past lives? And they gave a really beautiful description to us, and I wanted to share it with all of you. So if you are still wondering about your past lives and do I need to go back and heal past lives or clear past lives from my now moment, this will really help you, I think. And for those of you that are like, past lives, I don't care anymore, they're different timelines, which is absolutely true. It is a totally different timeline. And so this video might not resonate with you. But I think there are still a lot of people that are wondering about the past lives. So here's what happens. When you as a light being drop down into a physical form, the physical form that we're in right now, that you're in right now, you drop into the grid, the energetic grid that the earth exists in. And when you drop in, you connect. So your light body, your light beingness drops in. And even though it is in a physical form, it is still an energetic vibration and being. And when it comes into that form, it instantly connects to the grids that are around and in the earth. These grids, these energetic grid lines, connect the energetic being to all past timelines, which is past lives, and all future timelines or future lives that you may or may not have experienced, and past lives or lifetimes that you may or may not have actually experienced. Now, what happens when you connect into the body and thus into the energetic grid system is you as a light being all of a sudden are reconnected to the matrix. And when you reconnect to the matrix, you reconnect to these past lives. You reconnect to these timelines. You also connect and reconnect to past or future lives and future timelines. Just by being an energetic being down in the physical form, reconnected to the matrix through the energetic grid of the earth. You're in the matrix and boom, all of a sudden you're starting to connect and remember these past lives that you've had. Now, understanding past lives, which are parallel lives, which are timelines. Every lifetime that you may have lived on this earth plane was lived in a separate timeline. So imagine it as a path, a completely separate path. Every lifetime that you dropped in and experienced yourself as in a totally different physical form was held in a very specific linear timeline. However, all of these timelines are existing in a now moment. So you can tap into, drop into, and experience any other past lifetime or future lifetime that exists in its own path, on its own timeline, in this now moment. But that's not the purpose of this message. The purpose of this message is to understand first that these timelines or lifetimes that you've lived, past lives, all exist on their own, separate. So the physical form is separate. The physical experiences are separate. What is the same is the light being that came in. The light being that you are dropped into this lifetime and this timeline, dropped into this timeline and this lifetime, and onward, right? So the light being that you are dropped in. However, the physical form is different. And every lifetime or timeline is completely separate. They don't merge and they don't intermingle. They're separate. So when you drop into the physical form in this now moment as a light being that has lived these other lifetimes and these other timelines, you energetically connect to them through the matrix and the grid system. When you start to connect to them, you start to remember, or you start to have memories, feelings, perhaps emotions, right? And you feel them. You may feel unsafe. You may start feeling like certain situations in your life create anxiety. You may start to remember that you lived, you can start to remember like, oh, I remember living back in the days of Egypt, right? Or I remember living with the Native Americans, right? So you start to tap into these timelines, and many people, as they are awakening right now, they begin to have emotional feelings and experiences that are coming up, that are being stirred up by the memories of other lifetimes they've lived. Okay, so these are not consciousnesses that are in the physical form. They're memories that you are tapping into energetically from the grid system. And when you tap into the memory of that lifetime, you tap into the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts and the beliefs that you had in that timeline over here in this physical form. You didn't have any of those experiences in this form. The only thing that your physical body is clearing out and processing is consciousness that it digested and absorbed from this now lifetime. You are not healing, clearing, or processing any consciousness, which is emotion and thought, from any other lifetime. And the reason you're not is because your physical form was not in that lifetime. Your physical form right now is what is processing and clearing the consciousness. And where the consciousness is coming from is from your experiences in your lifetime now that your physical body is digesting. So when you leave this lifetime, when your light being, the light being that you are, exited this life, let's just say this life was 100 years ago. It had all these experiences, all this trauma. It was crucified, murdered, whatever. You experienced it in the physical form. Your light being experienced it as the being of light, and then it passed. And when it passed, it transitioned out of this physical form. And the light being moved out. The light being did not take with it the emotions, the traumas, the pains. Those are all held in the physical form down here in that third dimensional life. It stays there. The light being leaves, moves back into the dimension and frequency that it existed in, wherever it is that you existed in, and is clear. It's not holding any of the dense consciousness that it experienced in a lifetime prior. It doesn't do that. A consciousness it can't. It's impossible physically, physics-wise, it's impossible to hold and carry third dimensional consciousnesses into its beingness and out of the physical realm. It won't hold. Those consciousnesses won't hold. They can't go with it. So you're clear. You've had that experience. You had that lifetime. It was horrific. It was awful. It was whatever it was. And then you decide, I'm going back down. You create your Akashic record, do whatever it is you're going to do, and you, boom, drop back down into this brand new form, brand new timeline, brand new experiences. When you're in that form, from the moment you take your first breath, you begin to digest and experience consciousness. Your physical form holds the subtle bodies that digest the consciousness, which is the experience, right? And these consciousnesses are what are being cleared, healed, and processed out of the physical form. There is nothing that you brought in by your light body, by your light beingness, that was holding anything from a past life. It's impossible. Based on physics and energy, it's impossible. So when people talk about cellular memories, what they're talking about is the energetic being that you are, the light being that you are, drops into the form. It's holding the cells and the DNA that are connected to the Akashic record that you've designed. And it's also connected, as the light being comes in, it connects to the energetic grid. So your cells, which are an aspect of you, which hold light codes within you, begin to feel these memories that your light beingness is tapping into based on being in the matrix and the energetic grid. It's tapping into these past lifetimes and life timelines that you've experienced. And it's starting to feel the emotion. It's starting to feel and remember these experiences. And then what happens, so there's no consciousness that is being pulled in. The only consciousness that can get pulled into the human form is what is being experienced in this now moment. And in any now moment, every now moment, you absorb and bring in consciousness, which clears and processes through. You don't pull in from a different timeline a consciousness. It doesn't happen. So what typically will start to happen is the human will start to remember these past timelines. They'll start to pull the memories in. They'll start to feel the memories. And on a very unconscious level, very unconscious, they will start to create behaviors based on these memories. Well, I don't want to open up my crown because the last time I opened up my crown, I was murdered because I remember that lifetime. Very unconscious. Now you're remembering the lifetime based on your energetic light dropping into the matrix and the energetic grid. You're connecting to that grid and you are feeling all the different timelines. Now you are not holding the consciousness of that experience that happened over here. You're not holding within your new physical form the consciousness of being murdered, which happened in this timeline. It happened over here. It didn't happen here. It happened here. Your physical form here absorbed it. Your physical form here needed to heal it and clear it, not this one. But what the human gets confused on is they are tapping into the memories of this. Thus, they're tapping into the emotions of it. And then they are unconsciously creating behaviors based on these memories. It's kind of like looking at an old photo album and you look at this old picture of you at 5 years old and you remember the horrific trauma that happened at 5 years old, right? And you start to feel and remember the memories of it. And those memories create the horrible trauma all over again, right? But you're not going through the trauma right now. When you start tapping into either consciously or unconsciously past lives or other timelines, and you start to feel the emotions around it, the memories of it, it's very unconscious, but you start to create perhaps behaviors based on what happened in the past. So those behaviors are not based on a consciousness or a density within your body that needs to be cleared or healed. Nothing came into you that needs to be cleared out. The only thing you heal, clear, or process is dense consciousness that was consumed by your physical form through experiences that you've had in every now moment in this physical reality. So how can you possibly clear a past lifetime when that past lifetime didn't happen in this now moment? And there's nothing connecting you to that other lifetime other than the energetic grid. It's a very separate lifetime. And the physical body is the only thing that digests consciousness. The physical body is the only thing that clears and heals and processes consciousness. And when the light being that you are leaves that life and leaves that physical form, it's clear. It's clear of the trauma. It's clear of the pains. It's clear of that consciousness. It's clear. It drops it, comes over, comes back into a new life, brand new, brand new. No dense consciousness is being moved into the physical form with this light being, regardless of how horrific all the other lifetimes were. It doesn't work that way. But what happens is you connect to the grid, and then you start to remember past lives, and you start to remember memories, and then you start to have emotions behind them, and then you start to recognize behaviors, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I'm not speaking my truth because 500 years ago in a past life, I was persecuted and my throat was cut, and that's why I'm not doing it. If you have awareness around that, great. What's important is that you recognize that there's nothing to actually clear or heal out or heal within you. You can bring up that past life and say, oh, wow, look at what happened to me. That's part of the reason why I don't want to speak right now. That's part of the reason why I don't want to open up myself and share my gifts, right? So it helps for some to go back and recognize specific past lives. It's almost like it brings an awareness to it, makes you conscious. It's like, oh my God, this is why I'm not opening up these parts of me. Typically, the behaviors that are shown to us that are based on memories from past lives have to do with energy centers and not opening ourselves up to other energies. Because in past lives, when we opened ourselves up, really horrific things happened. However, there is nothing to heal. There's no healing that needs to happen. You don't need to go back to that past life and live that past life out in order to heal trauma. That's a waste of energy almost, because you're going back to something that doesn't exist in your now moment. It's not existing to be healed. You're healing something that doesn't exist in this now moment. So it's like you're going back into the past to heal something that is already done, even though it's still happening because everything's happening in every now moment. But it doesn't make any sense consciously if you start to understand how this whole thing works. So really, if there are past lives that you're tapping into that are pretty traumatic and painful for you, and you believe that they are holding you back in some way, then what would work is just having an awareness around what was this past life and does it have any impact on me now? The impact is just the memories. The impact is just the memory of it and allowing it to hold you back in some way. But if you start to recognize that you're completely sovereign in this lifetime, and that even if you start to have memories, and even if you start to tap into old timelines, they're separate. They have no impact on you. You can believe the stories that they do. You can believe that because you were persecuted 800 times in other lifetimes, you're now going to be unable to or have difficulty opening up. But that's just a story you're telling yourself. Energetically, that's not true. That would be like saying, when I was 5 years old, I was molested by my uncle. And every single time, every single moment that I remember that, I am traumatized over and over again. I'm traumatized over and over again. I'm traumatized over and over again. Every time I hold that memory and I tap into that memory, I'm traumatized. Why would I want to continue to do that? I want to look at it and say, oh, thank you for showing that's what happened. Okay, heal it, clear it. I can heal it and clear it because it happened in this now lifetime. So I can actually do something with it, right? But things that happened in a past lifetime that was traumatic that you're remembering, it doesn't play any significant role unless you allow it to, which is okay. There's no right or wrong around this. The point of this information coming in from the Pleiadians was to allow us to free ourselves from past lives, free ourselves from feeling like we are chained or need to heal or need to clear past lives. There's nothing to clear. There's memories. You can't clear memories, right? Memories just are memories. And memories can unconsciously create behaviors with us, patterns. which is what happens. And so there's a lot of ways in which humans think they need to go back and release that trauma, release that. There's no releasing of it. It's a memory. So basically what you're trying to do is release the memory of it. But there's no consciousness in you that needs to heal. Healing is clearing out dense consciousness. That's what healing really is. Healing trauma, healing pain, healing anything is basically just allowing the consciousness that is dense, that never cleared through you originally when it came in, to allow it to clear out of you now. And the only way that consciousness comes in is through the experience in a now moment. Now moment. Not now moment in a past timeline. Now moment in this timeline. So your past lives are beautiful. They're there. You can tap into them. But you don't need to go back and dive into it and heal anything. If you understand energy. And if you understand that there's pain and trauma with the memories, but there's nothing inside of you that needs to be cleared out. There's nothing blocking your throat chakra because of what happened in a past life, because you were murdered, or let's say your throat was cut in a past life, right? And so tapping into the energetic grid, you remember that past life and you're like, oh my God, I can feel it in my throat. It's a memory. Your throat isn't actually, there's nothing in the throat in this body. There's nothing in your throat clogging or blocking consciously from you speaking. It is a memory that you're tapping into energetically. So let's say that you have that, right? And it's like, it won't come out. It won't come out. I feel like I need to release this somehow. Going back and experiencing or understanding what lifetime is creating this memory is probably going to help you. It's probably going to help you if you're stuck on really trying to understand these past lives. Otherwise, you can just continue with your now moments, knowing that with every waking day that we have, we're receiving more energy. And as more energy comes in, we're going to be clearing out whatever memories you're thinking of. It's going to clear. It's going to move through you, the memories that you're holding on to. Because as you move into higher states of consciousness, you start to recognize that the past is separate than your now. And the memories you may or may not be having have no impact on your now moment. It's all happening in everything is happening now in a separate space, and yet at the same time in the same space, in the same field. It's quantum, right? But all you're focused on is your now moment. And if you're constantly thinking about the past moments or the future moments, it's a huge waste of energy. Process and clear and heal what's in your now moment. You can process and clear any sort of thing that's happening in your throat just by going in and tapping into it and saying, oh, look, it's a memory from my past life. I'm going to clear that now. It's a memory. It's not a consciousness. It's just a memory you're remembering, energetically remembering, energetically remembering. So the point of the message that they wanted me to get across was, you don't have to heal or clear past lives. It's impossible. You can release memories from past lives that are causing you to feel certain things and that are bringing up memories that are uncomfortable and could possibly be unconsciously creating patterns or behaviors in you. And there is a really beautiful thing about sort of remembering lifetimes that you've lived. It's kind of exciting, right? It's like, oh my God, I've had all these lifetimes. What did I do? But there's nothing to clear and heal. It doesn't make any sense. So if you're going back to try to heal something, it's probably not going to heal. But what does work is the recognition of this memory I'm having about how my throat being cut, right? Or whatever horrific thing it was. The memory of it over here in this path. And the behaviors I'm doing now based on remembering. It's very different than healing and clearing a past life. You're just tapping into the memory, recognizing the memory, recognizing how it may be impacting you now, and choosing a different direction, choosing to do something different, choosing to recognize that that memory is just that, and it has no impact on my now moment. It's just a memory. I'm going to let that memory go. Wow, that happened to me. That's horrible. But guess what? It didn't happen to me now. It's not consciously in me. There's nothing consciously stuck in my throat from being slashed 700 years ago. It's consciously not in me energetically. It's a memory that I can say, great, that happened. That's a memory. I'm going to now choose to let that be and to move forward in my life. But I want to really get clear that there's nothing wrong with going back into past lives and to experiencing past lives. What's important, the Pleiadians wanted us to understand, is that there's nothing to heal or clear energetically. It's just a recognition of what you may be remembering still. And by going back into these past lives, you can release it, that memory. You can kind of be like, oh, okay, now I understand. Now I understand. That's not happening now. I'm not in that space. I'm not in that timeline. I'm not in that path. Hopefully that was useful in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're just thinking this is all nuts. Lori's crazy. Next video, please. But if you did resonate with it, pass it along to people that may resonate with it. And like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to be notified of more videos that I'm doing. Also, I'm doing a Q&A, live Q&A starting April 16th. I'll be jumping onto YouTube live at 4 p.m. beginning April 16th every other Tuesday. And if you want to get notified of when I'm going live, you subscribe to the channel, and then right next to the subscription is a little bell. Click that bell and you can click the box, be notified when going live, and then you'll get a notification that pops up that I'm live, and then you can join me live on YouTube. I'm going to do all kinds of questions and answers. I'm really excited to start doing this with everyone. So anyway, thank you all for being here, for listening, for being part of this community, for being here on the planet right now. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video.